Hi guys. So I've been meaning to film this video for a while. I actually did have one like it filmed, but I don't think it ever aired. I've mentioned a few times that after my son died, I channeled all my grief into writing and oh okay. I'm filming
Yep, super tea.
elderberry tea. This looks good.
Come on.
Oh, that is really good.
Super
I went down the wrong way though.
It's definitely a black tea.
This one's better. They're both good. The one with lemonade in it's a little better.
You got your donuts, I get my tea.
Thank you for sharing. That was cute. So I channeled all my feelings, all my grief into writing. I'm already a writer, published author, and I do a lot of art. Before he passed away, I started a grief ministry for other families with special needs kids, where if their child was terminal or had passed away, I would paint portraits of them. So, and I've always drawn pictures of my kids, but I guess it kind of made sense to channel my grief into art and drawing. These are all the books that I've made as a tribute to my son, to Teal'c. In the first month after he died, I just kept writing about him. I wrote his life story. So many things, and there's a lot of poems in here too. There's some pictures of him. I went through his whole life, from pregnancy to the day he died, and I wrote all the stories about him that I could think of. It's 600 pages long. This was the first month after he died. I didn't edit it because I made these posts on my Facebook. So I originally joined Facebook because of Teal'c, actually. When he was born, he was very sick. And family and friends kept calling me, asking about him, and I couldn't be on the phone all day telling people the same thing over and over again. So first I joined Caring Bridge, but people had a hard time with Caring Bridge. And everybody was on Facebook, so I joined Facebook. And I started, updates about Teal'c's health, and sometimes I'd write about the kids, and I'll do a video about the other books that I have too, because I've written books about my other kids and comic books and stuff. But so, being a special needs mom was very isolating at times because I didn't know any other special needs families, not face to face, but I found a community online. And I was very isolated for years because between taking care of Teal'c, taking care of the kids, the only other moms I knew were moms with small kids, and we only got together for like play dates and stuff because everybody was just so busy. And I was lonely. So I wrote on Facebook. So it was natural to me to write about my grief on Facebook. And after, I would say, the first 2 weeks, somebody was like, you should put this all in one place. Because I like to scrapbook. I have tons of scrapbooks for each of my kids. And I'm already an author, so what I did is I took screenshots of my Facebook posts. And when I got to 600 pages, that's the page limit for Amazon Publishing. But I kept writing. This one is this next 2 months. This one goes into the next 2 months and how things were. And then I started writing her family story. First, I wrote about each of my kids' relationship with their brother. And then I wrote about my kids. And this is the next couple of months, starting with Abby's graduation from basic training all the way through does it have a date on it? Through about December. And then I was working on biographies for each of my kids too, because I had done these for Teal'c, so I was like, well, I gotta do one for all the other 9 kids. So I did. And I still write about Teal'c. Not nearly as much as I used to, but I write about my grief, I write poems, I write stories. This was from December until his birthday in September. No, not his birthday. Was it his birthday or was it? It was a little bit after his birthday, because the last entry on this one is the day after Robbie got home from the army, and that was August. So these are essentially my scrapbooks. My tribute to Teal'c. As you can see, I write a lot. These ones are poems I wrote, letters I wrote to him, paired with drawings I did. You know, some of them only have a few sentences because it was a poem. These are some drawings. These pencil drawings are ones that I did when he was little. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the hospital with him, and while he would be sleeping or something, I would draw him and the rest of my kids. I did them super tiny, but all of these are tributes to him. This one has real pictures of him instead of just drawings. At 16 birthdays, I wrote this on his 16th birthday, a couple months after he passed away. Look how tiny he was. He was born premature. He was only 4.5 pounds. And he didn't grow very fast. He didn't reach a normal newborn size until, well, I suppose he was 12 pounds when he was a year old. So he was a little bit bigger than newborn, like weight, but he was wearing newborn size clothes. I wrote about grief. These pictures are drawings that I edited to, like this one I edited to make it darker. Actually, I took the color out of all of these drawings to kind of show the sorrow in my heart. Waves of darkness, describing grief. This is a drawing I did of the very last picture I have of him. That last picture was the moment between his last breath and his last heartbeat. It was the last moment of his life. And I drew him like his spirit letting go. I drew him in the clouds like an angel. This one's 6 months. I should have picked a different color for the front. But this is a poem I wrote on the day it was 6 months since he had died. These are pictures from his hospital stay 3 months before he died. I wish I still had those videos on YouTube. I can't find them. I shouldn't have deleted everything. That was an emotional moment. It was dumb. I don't know what I was thinking. This one's called Not Enough Words. Not enough words to say how much you mean to me. It's another poem I wrote for him. This one I actually wrote when we were in the hospital. And I thought he was going to get better. It's called My Hospital Stay. But I didn't publish it until after he had died. Originally, the ending of this was a happy one. It was supposed to be, I was writing this for our memories, but also for other kids going through hospital stays. Oh, I didn't change the ending. I thought I did. Well, this one ends happy, where he comes home, but he never really fully recovered. Oh, yeah, this is another one of these. This is, this is the third one. So there's 5 of them. This one goes through Christmas last year when I picked up Robbie from the airport. This one is one of 9 books. The other ones are in here, except for the one that, I think the one that Dylan has. I think he has it with him. And for a while, Robbie had his over in Germany. I asked each of my kids to tell me a word or phrase of what Teal'c meant to them, and each of these books are about their relationship with him. And I drew pictures from when they were babies, when they were little. This one's Braytax. Well, one of Braytax. I think there's actually 2 for Braytac. This one's about Teal'c listening to his heartbeat. Braytac is 2 years younger than Teal'c, but he's been bigger than Teal'c for a long time. And Teal'c would listen to his heartbeat all the time, and then he would play with cardboard boxes, and he would kind of flap the flaps like this, but he did it in a specific pattern. And the pattern was the same sound as Braytac's heartbeat. It was funny because when Teal'c first met Braytac, so Braytac was born in my car. That's a story I've told before, but I'm gonna have to do it again because I don't think it's up on YouTube anymore. He was born in my car, and then Braytac and I went on to the hospital in the ambulance. Rob came home and cleaned out the car. Well, it was a van, it was a Kia. He cleaned out the van, and Teal'c was very fragile. So Rob's mom was watching the kids, but she's like, I'm not gonna watch Teal'c now that the emergency's over. You have to take him. So like when he came back to the house, his mom was here with the kids. She took Dylan, Robert, and Ronan to her house, and Rob put Teal'c in the car seat, put him in the car, and brought him to the hospital where I was. And Teal'c was sitting in his little chair in his car seat, and he sees this new baby, and he just glares at the baby. Glares at Daddy for holding the baby. And I have the cutest picture of him glaring at him. But then, so I brought the baby to his car seat because he was still in the baby car seat. And I was like, here, this is your baby brother. And then he's like, oh. And then all of a sudden he just loved him. And Teal'c couldn't sit up even at that time. And he started to develop along with Braytac. It's called Mommy's Strong Arms. And the poem is about how I built my body stronger so I could keep carrying him his whole life. Oh, he was such a beautiful boy. This one's called Fear. It's a poem about how scared I was this whole life, scared of losing him. This one's called Without You. First line is, how do I move on? The other side on the other side now. You've gone to eternity. Oh, this is the one I was actually talking about. My bub-bub. This one's the one about Teal'c and Teal'c together. Bub-bub was the word that Teal'c used to say brother, but he also used that word for sister because he couldn't say S's, so everybody was bub-bub. But we called him bub-bub because he always said it, so it was also his nickname. This is the most recent one I did. Dear Mom. This is kind of years ago. A friend of my sister-in-law's lost her baby before he was born. She had an accident and the baby didn't make it. And I wrote a letter to her as if it was from the baby, telling her, okay, Mom, it's not your fault. So I did something similar. I wrote a letter to myself as if it was from Teal'c, saying I'm healed and happy now. You'll get through this kind of thing. This one's called What I Lost. And these ones where the pictures are just the line work, it's because I felt so empty when I wrote those poems, and I wanted my artwork to reflect that. This one's called Pain. First line is, I wish I could have taken your pain away. Mama, hold me. My time is short. This is another one of those. Like a letter that would be from him, maybe. But it's more like a letter to my past self. I always knew his life was going to be short. It was so hard. This one's called Running. And it's about running from death. Because that's what I felt like we were always doing. A couple days after he died, I had a dream that I was running. I was carrying him and I was running. When I sat down, he got off my lap and told me it was time to stop running. And then he went through a portal with a lady that represented death that had been chasing us. And that one's about that dream. This one's called 200 Days. And I wrote this when it had been 200 days after he had passed. This one's called Trying. Every day I keep trying to find the joy. My heart is broken and I feel numb. I'm writing out my feelings. This one's called The Soul Scream. And this is about how shattered I felt when he died. How I felt like it just broke me. This one's called Memories. This is one of the first ones I did. It's him and the kids. Thank you, Teal'c. A letter I wrote to him thanking him for being my son and for staying alive as long as he did and fighting through everything he fought through. This one's called Forever. I would have taken care of you forever. This one's called Pieces of Me. And it's talking about how each of my kids is a piece of my soul and how I feel like I've lost part of my soul. This one's Don't Be Sad. Another one kind of about, you know, how I know that he would want me to be happy and not be sad forever. This one's Ronan's. I asked him what Teal'c was to him and he said, my joy. So I wrote a story around that. A Loss This Deep. This one's another poem I wrote about how much it hurts. Built different. This is a phrase that Robbie always said. We're built different. Teal'c's built different. He was so strong. He was such a warrior. 7 months. I wrote this one when I was 7 months. I remember one mistake, one slip up would mean you suffered. So I set alarms on my phone every 2 hours and woke up through the night to watch all the machines. This was about all the things that I had to remember to keep him alive. This one's called Last Breath. This was about the moment that he let go. And I wanted it to look like it was sketched and very, wispy, and because those moments were so fleeting, trying to draw feelings can be really difficult to convey. This one's called The Decision. This is about the choice that I had to make to not put him on life support again, so he could be free and not suffer anymore. This one's called Fading. This poem is about watching him fade away. It was the last year of his life. Just watching. This one's called I Know. I know I'll see him again in heaven. I know he's with Jesus, but I'm still here on this earth, and it hurts. This one's called I Held You. And it's about how I held him his whole life. How I carried him, even when he was big. No matter how big he got. And I would have kept carrying him forever. And now I can't carry him, so I carry his ashes around my neck. And I carry this pain in my soul. It's called Gone. It's one of the first poems I wrote after he died. How can it be over? How can you just be gone? How can your life have ended? How can things have gone so wrong? Those are the things I screamed in my soul every night. Writing it down helped. I miss you, I know. This is like a conversation between me and him. Mama, I'm here. Your hands held me my whole life. I know you can't see me now, but I'm holding you. I miss you, son. I know. This one's my hope. One of the ones I did for the kids. This is Teal'c and Theo. 20 hours. So here's the interesting thing. I was in labor for 20 hours. And it was exactly 20 hours from the time we got to the hospital until he passed away. 20 hours to bring him into the world, and 20 hours for him to be born into the next. I wrote this poem about that. You changed me. All the ways he made me strong. All the ways that he helped make me into who I am. Erased. These are pictures of him. I traced the pictures and then erased the color from parts of it because I felt like everything had been erased. It just ripped away from me. And I feel like I might be missing some of these. 104. I wrote this poem on 104 days after he died. Cascade. This is about the fact that no matter what we did, he was his body was breaking down, and one thing after another just kept breaking apart. Everything we did to save him caused some other problem. Like the seizure meds helped with the seizures, but gave him kidney stones. You know, everything we did, it just felt like a cascade that couldn't be stopped. 100 days. Oh yeah, I'm definitely missing some of these. I think some of the kids have their books. This one's called Come Back. Also one of the first ones I did. Sort of a poem begging him to come back. Even if it's in my dreams, just come back to me. This one is a more recent one. I had a miscarriage before I got pregnant with Ronan. And my husband and his family didn't want to hear about it. They didn't want to talk about it. It was too heavy. So I grieved for her alone. I called her my mystery baby. She has a name now. Ellie wanted me to name her. So she's like, Mom, what would you have called her? Well, I would have called her Kyrie. So that's her name now. The night that Teal'c lay dying, I had a dream where Kyrie and a bunch of other family members and friends that had passed on were all standing there in the room, and they were like glowing blue, and she grabbed my hand and she was looking at him. She didn't look at me, but she touched my hand like she was comforting me. She was so beautiful. She looked like Teal'c, but older. And she had curly hair like Ronan. And I saw her at every stage all at once. And she was waiting for him. So I wrote this about that vision, and what I imagined was them meeting each other. Telling your story. I found that the more that I spoke up about Teal'c, and the more that I wrote about him, I wasn't just telling his story, I was also telling mine. This one's Corbin's, My Courage. Taylor's My Strength. Naomi's is My Heart. I'm definitely missing a couple of books that I did for Robbie and Teal'c. He must have them with his army stuff still. And My Peace. This is Ellie. Teal'c and Ellie. When Teal'c had gotten used to mommy having a big tummy and then coming home with a baby. But when I came home with twins, he was shocked. Even though I told him there was two, I don't think he really got the concept right away. There's a few books that belong in this pile, but Dylan has his. And there's two of them for Robbie that he must have probably still in his army suitcase because he hasn't really unpacked his stuff. He's been home almost 2 months, but he has a really hard time like looking at any of the stuff from the army, so he hasn't really unpacked that yet. I'm still writing about Teal'c. It helps honor his memory, helps me feel close to him again, and it helps me process the feelings. I've done a total of, I think it's 76 or 78 books for him. 5 of them were done before he passed away. I did like books about special needs. I did superhero books. I did other ones where like incorporated all the kids, but like specifically for him. There was, I think, about 5 or 6 of them. He loved boxes, so I made him a book about boxes. called Boxes Can Be Anything. It's actually one of my best sellers. And of course he's in my comic books too. But this is my tribute to my son. He made a big impact, and I'll always miss him.